How's it going? And welcome back for another video. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys a guide to the Nidalee / Riven Dawnbringer-esque build. This is absolutely my favorite build to play at the moment, and my best build for climbing. I basically flex between this build and one other build. Whenever I'm climbing right now, I'm climbing on patch 11.15b is the current patch that I'm playing this on. That's what I'm making this guide for. But I can't imagine this build is going to change throughout the set. These synergies just link up so cleanly. I imagine that's going to be the build for the entire set. So if you're watching this later, if this build is strong again, I bet you can get value from it. So let's just get right into it. So first thing we're going to talk about is item priority. Before I talk about item priority, don't look at my Nidalee items. Don't focus on this because I have item slammed. Just don't. We'll talk about items in a bit and my idea of items in this build. But your item prio is going to be glove, belt, bow, tier. The reason why it's glove is because Nidalee has the most flexible items in the game. All of her best items stem from glove, usually. I mean, there's exceptions. All of her best items stem from glove and bow. Belt is just by far the best defensive item. I don't know if it's going to be the whole set, but it was all of set 5. It's just a crazy item. Bow is great on Nidalee. Bow is best item for Riven if you end up playing Riven. I just prefer to play Nidalee usually. And then tier is fine because you can build Hodges, and tiers are good on Soraka, especially if you end up playing the Soraka variant. Also, leftover tier items can go on Rakan, and it's fine as well. All right, let's talk about your early game. Early game, you're going to play around Skirmishers and Sentinels. So you just play around Skirmishers, and Sentinels is going to be the easiest way, especially on stage 2. Just play around those and pick up Dawnbringers when you see them. Specifically, Nidalee, Riven, and Soraka are going to be the ones you pick up. I always 100% of the time pre-level to level 4 and level 5 to get better odds for getting Nidalee, Riven, and Irelia. You guys should know why you pre-level to get those. Okay, I don't necessarily recommend that you always pre-level. If you play standard and you're playing strongest board, it's best to just pre-level at your own discretion, right? And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like if you don't have a 2-star 1 cost, you usually don't want to pre-level, right? Because you're going to have a weak board. So if you want to play standard and you want to play strongest board and you want to play pretty normal, then just pre-level whenever it makes sense. On the other hand, I play this build and I play this set in general like an absolute psychopath. And I will explain the psychopath playstyle at the end of the video because I know not a lot of this is a build guide and not a how to play like a psycho guide. But I will talk about how I actually play this build. And I play it like a psycho at the end of the video if you're interested in how I do that. But if you want to play standard, you know, just pre-leveling is great. But if you want to play strongest board and you're not willing to play a super weak early game, then don't pre-level when it looks bad. Cool. All right, so let's make our level 6 board. This is the board. If you're going to roll at level 6, this is your board 9 times out of 10. Unless you like high roll like a Jackson Rel, but usually won't. So this is going to be your standard board. I almost always roll to make this board and upgrade most of my key units on level 6 and on stage 3, somewhere around 3-2 or 3-5. I personally prioritize econ, which is what I'll talk about in my playstyle later. But I almost always roll in 6 to make this board because my idea of playing this build, it's a tempo build. My idea is that I want to win the late stage of stage 3 and I want to win almost all of stage 4. So in order to do that, I roll a lot on 6 to make this board. And if you get a 2-star Nidalee and then you 2-star a couple of our other units, you will usually win streak unless there's another psycho player in the lobby or somebody just turbo high rolling. Usually a Nidalee 2-star with some items slammed on her will carry stage 3. And then if you make some upgrades to stage 4 once you're there, then once you have your fully upgraded board, it's usually enough to either win streak or just be one of the strongest players in the lobby on stage 4 level 7. Cool. You can fast 7 and completely bypass this board if you want to. If you're playing standard and you're playing strongest board and it looks like you can bypass this, that's fine too. But just know that you either need a lot of gold or a lot of HP if you want to push the 7 to 3-star something on this board. Usually you play for 2-3 stars anyways, but you only need 1. But usually you need a lot of health if you want to fast 7. So just know that. Just know that you either need a lot of health because you'll need to sit there and slow roll and sack all of stage 4. Or you need a lot of gold because you'll need to hit if you don't have much HP but you have a lot of gold, then you're going to need to roll a crazy amount of gold on 4-1 to spike so that you don't lose all stage 4 because you will start to lose stage 5. You'll lose at least 50% of your fights stage 5 even if you're strongest player in the lobby. That's just how it works. So just know that you either need a lot of gold or a lot of money if you want to skip level 6. I know a lot of players aren't comfortable rolling on 6. Cool. Positioning for your level 6 board. And I'll show you a couple versions of this level 6 board in a second. Positioning, you want to clump for Rakan value. And you usually want to position on one side. And let me tell you my reasoning behind this is I like to position like left side, for example. I just default to left. It can be right side. Because you can protect your Nidalee in this cubby, right? You can set her right there. Assassins are going to jump your Soraka and Rakan. Occasionally, they might get in here, but then she'll just jump away. So you're protecting her from getting one shot. You're protecting her from taking aggro because you don't want her to be first aggro. You're protecting her from main aggro. Some fights you can let her first aggro, but just in general. And then also you're main taking your Irelia. So if you end up fighting someone who's mirroring you and you're positioned like this, then you just get an even damage spread front line. Your front line is going to hit their front line. Their back line is going to hit your front line. All that good stuff. It's going to be a normal fight, right? You're going to even damage spread across your front line. If they end up are centering or on right side or on opposite side, it's actually beneficial because you're going to be putting your leftover tank items on Irelia. So let's say you have like a Warmogs on her or something. You can get more value off of her like taking 4 units aggro, four of the units aggro, than to evenly spread those units damage across your front line. Because Riven can get a lot of damage off if she lives longer. And Irelia is just going to... She's immortal anyways. Even if she's taking aggro from their entire team, or she's taking aggro from one person, she's still going to be the last person alive a lot of times, because Rakan's going to heal her. And then your other frontliners don't have the same type of tankiness that Irelia does. So that's why I position this way. Okay, now let's talk about items, and we'll talk about items for all of our carries that we're possibly going to run in this build. But this version is I'm showing you right here is Nidalee, and I'll show you a couple other versions real quick. Okay, some of you need to hear this, and I'm gonna look straight into your soul. Don't try to get best in slot items, you noob. Okay, if you're trying to get best in slot items on Nidalee in this build, and you're like sacking health or sacking rounds, and it's not like for good econ measures, like to lose streak or something, you are just kneecapping yourself by thinking like, oh, I have to have Rage Blade. I have to have... No, okay, just stop. Almost every single item in the entire game works great on Nidalee, except for like the terrible items, like the utility items obviously don't work well on a carry, and then some of the mana items don't work super well on her, like Archangels and Sojin. But almost every other damage item or tank item works great on Nidalee. So if slamming an item will win you the round when you need to win the round, slam the item. Now let's talk about what you actually need though, because there are some things that you want to have if you're depending on who you're carrying. If you're carrying Nidalee, the only thing that she has to have is Shred. That's all she needs. Because fights can go really poorly. You don't need it for every fight, but sometimes your Nidalee will just jump onto a frontliner, and you'll be stuck on a frontliner the whole fight, and you'll never touch their backline because you'll just be stuck there because you can't kill them. So that's why you need either Last Whisper, or you need Giant Slayer, or the Radiant versions of either of those are great. I win games all the time with Radiant Giant Slayer. So either versions of the item. After that, some of the best things to have on her is healing, so Hodge or BT, and some type of stacking item. Rage Blade is amazing. Radiant Rage Blade is amazing on her. That's a terrible item, but it's good on Nidalee. Titans, both versions of Titans are great. You can just toss a Warmogs here. It's fine. The only thing you really need is Shred, and then you just want some other way to deal damage, and then either healing or stacking. To express this even more, how little Nidalee items matter if like you disagree, I first placed a game in GM in Grandmaster Elo. My items were Radiant Titans, QSS, and Last Whisper. I first placed the lobby. It was a normal lobby. There was people playing crazy good late game boards. I won the lobby with that trash set of 0 damage items. It's fine. Okay. All right. That's my little speech about items, slamming items. So many people ask me best in slot, and so many people lose so many games because they're just so focused on best in slot. All right. Now Riven on the other hand. Let's look at a Riven build. Riven is a little different. Riven's items are somewhat stagnant, but they're a lot more flexible than you think. Okay. I know you're probably looking at this QSS. I don't ever see people build QSS on Riven. That's insanity. Okay, you don't have to have RFC. You don't. Radiant RFC is definitely her best item. But if you can't get that, just build a QSS. It works the same way. It doesn't work quite as well, but it's great. The only thing you need on Nidalee, the only things you need on Riven, she has one more exception. She needs some type of shred. She has some way to kill frontline, and then she needs some way to have uptime. If you don't have a QSS or a RFC, your Riven is not allowed to play the game stage 5 and beyond. You just get stuck on Ivern, Volibear, Rel, and you just can't play the game. And if you don't have Shred, same thing happens. You get stuck on Rel, Volibear, Galio, and you just can't play the game. Third item, all you need is either healing or damage. Her best damage option on here is going to be the AoE, is going to be Rune or Radiant Rune. And then if you want to play healing, you can either do Hodge or BT. I always prefer more damage, the damage spread. My philosophy around this is if I build BT, I might sustain, but I might not have enough damage to kill their front line. I just get one shot by Illusion or something, right? Or I get one shot by Nephelio Assault or Karma or Vel'Koz. And I never even kill their front line because I don't have enough damage. I'm just stuck on frontliners. Their entire backline lives. If you have the more damage-oriented build, you kill frontline a lot quicker. And then maybe you're not able to finish off 1v1ing an Akshan later. But I'd rather take losing 5 health over losing 20. So that is my thought process around there. But you can totally go healing third item. It's fine. Soraka, you just need Soraka. Let me show you the version if you end up having to play Soraka as your carry. Basically, the whole thing I'm trying to say is you just flex around whoever you're hitting for 3-star. Soraka, you just play Sojin plus damage items. Archangel's probably her best items here instead of the spell crit, at least at the time I'm making this video. But if you're starting glove, it's more realistic you're gonna get this. One other thing I want to talk about, because you probably noticed, I've had leftover items on Nidalee every single time. And it's because if you are starting glove start and you get extra gloves and you're not going to carry your Nidalee, like it looks like you're going to 3-star your Riven or 3-star your Raka, just toss a TG on Nidalee. She's the best TG user of any carry in the game because she can use almost all the item combinations, and TG directly synergizes with her dodge passive on her ulti. So you just toss a TG on there. Irelia is going to be your main tank for most of the game. She's going to be your main tank the whole game unless you end up swapping her out for like a Garen later and you put the items over there. So just put leftover tank items onto your Irelia. And then Rakan just gets leftovers if there's like good items for him. You end up 3-starring. I actually end up 3-starring my Rakan a lot. And I'll end up adding items to him. But cool. All right, now let's talk about your level 7 and your mid game, and then we'll transition into talking about your late game. All right, level 7 and stage 4. These are the only mandatory units to your build. So it's just Irelia, Nidalee, Riven, and Raka. These are the only units you'll have 99% of the time. Even Raka and Riven aren't mandatory. You can flex them out, but you might just get into a dizzy land. So it's just best just to plan on keeping these units every time. All right, let's show you the cheapest version of the build. And this is most common if you're going to slow roll on 7. Because if you're slow rolling on 7, it's going to be hard for you to hit bigger units. So we just play the cheaper version of the build if you want to slow roll on 7 and you're not willing to roll for a spike. Then what we're going to be doing is we're going to toss in the units we just had. So we're going to have Olaf, Rakan. We'll stay bunched up for our Rakan value, right? We can move over here. Bunch up for our Rakan value. And basically, this is our level 6 board that we just had, and we just add Karma. So we get a nice little spike by having 4 Dawnbringer. 4 Dawnbringer is a great spike mid game, especially if you're a Nidalee and Riven. And then also if you have like a random blue buff and you have some good Karma items, you can transition items here. Maybe you're not looking for Raka 3 and you slam some AP items on her. You can remake Raka, and now you have a third carry back here. I've had plenty of games where I've had Karma actually side carry my comp pretty effectively by just transitioning items to Raka. So you just add this. This is cheap version. This is normally when you're slow rolling, but this is not the ideal thing that you want. Ideally, you want to transition to either of these 2 boards. All right, we're going to put our Nidalee back. We're going to put our Nidalee back. Assume she has items. Okay, guys. Assume she has items. So we're going to add a Jax and a Rel. Jax and Rel. Cool. We add Jax and Rel, and then Karma is going to be our stable add at 7 here. And so now basically Ironclad is just a really insane spike mid game. Sentinel, we don't need as much. Renewer, we really don't need as much. We'll just take the 4-unit spike. There are a couple of different versions where you drop this and drop Riven, you add some other stuff, but that's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more nuanced. That would take a longer video, so we're not going to talk about that. But just in general, if you just play around this, it's going to be great. Positioning, you want to have Irelia now. Now you want the damage spread to be a little bit more even, right? Because people have bigger teams. They have actual 4 costs and 3 cost carries and stuff like that. So you really just want Irelia to tank for your Nidalee. You just don't want Nidalee to take first damage. You can either put her here. Doesn't really matter. But you want her to main tank for your Nidalee. So when Nidalee jumps back, she doesn't take aggro. And then you want Rel in the center, because ideally you want the shield to go to Nidalee. So if Nidalee jumps to a corner or jumps over here, ideally you'll shield your whole front line, and then you'll shield wherever she goes and stun wherever she goes. That's why we're going to have our Karma not cornered, but just on the second hex, so that we can get that position value. But worst case scenario, your front line gets shielded, it shields back to Karma, your back line gets shielded, and just Nidalee doesn't get the shield if she's on back line. That's worst case scenario, but the reason why we position like this is to hopefully get the value onto our Nidalee, and we get some good stun value as well. All right, the other version of this build, basically you just drop Rel and you play Ivern. This is arguably better than the version I just showed you because you can get Renewer and Invoker. I usually prefer to do this one unless Iron Chad is just giving me a lot of value. Cool, and you just do this so that you get Invoker and Renewer. It's really powerful. And then basically the standard, what we do is when we go to level 8, we just add whoever isn't here. So if we were playing Rel, we add Ivern. And since we're playing Ivern, we add Rel. So let's find Rel. Let's put Rel back over here. And we can just position like this. We can just position like this. And we just have our Ivern and our Riven in the middle to get maximum value off of their spells. And we do this. All right. So this is just the basic version of what your late game board will look like. But there's so much craziness in the set, like emblems. There's so many crazy legendary units and stuff. You can flex out of this completely. And so just flex around your emblems. Flex around playing the HIV comp, Heimerdinger, Ivern, Volibear. Flex around adding in Garen. Maybe you switch this out, remake it. Maybe you don't even need her anymore. The only thing that's really important is it's very important to try to maintain Skirmisher the whole game, especially if you're carrying Nidalee, because she will have a hard time carrying without Skirmishers. It just, the stacking is really insane on her. It's really insane. So just play around your emblems, HIV, Garen, Fiddle and Gwen if you need mystics like Fiddle, Gwen, Volibear. You can flex around that. You can take out these Dawnbringers and just play around Nidalee Riven as like a 2 Dawn setup, or like you can play just around Nidalee Garen as a 2 Dawn setup. Or you can just flex around Iron Chads. You can add like a Nautilus, maybe drop some stuff, add a Galio for Knights. Like, just play flexibly late game. But if you don't know what to do, just play this, and this will be effective in most lobbies. Very strong units, and very good supporting for your carries, which are Nidalee, Riven, Soraka, and Karma. Are going to support them really, really well. Okay, guys, that's the build. So that is the build there. Now I'm going to talk about my Psycho playstyle. Let me tell you how I personally play the game. This is what I do every game. Every game, almost every game. Some games I'll play strongest board if I'm really high roll. I only buy Irelia, Olaf, Rakan, and Dawnbringers. I fully prioritize econ. It's set with the exception that I will pre-level every single game. So I'll pre-level to 4 and I'll pre-level to 5. No matter what the circumstances are, the only time I don't play like this psycho method is if I am really high roll and I can just win streak. But if that's not an option, I will play a weak board. I will do unspeakable things, and I will only buy Irelia, Olaf, Rakan, and Dawnbringers. I will even sell a like Kha'Zix or a Gragas. Even if it makes my board stronger, I will sell it to make 10 gold. By every means, I will try to make 10 gold. But I will never sell a core unit to my build. I will never sell Irelia, Olaf, Rakan. Irelia, Olaf, Rakan, Nidalee, or Riven, or Soraka. I will never sell any of those units. Olaf is the only one that I will sell a copy of because I can just remake, and also I pivot out of him anyways. But everyone else I will hold. And so basically what I do is I try to maintain econ as best as possible. You don't have to streak. I mean, lose streaking is great, but as long as you are econing fine, you'll have enough money. And basically what I do is I just get around 70 health on 3-2 or 3-5. It depends on my eco and my HP when I'm going to roll. But no later than 3-5, I will send it for that level 6 board I showed you guys. And the only thing I need to hit is Nidalee 2-star, and if I'm carrying Nidalee 2-star, and then I also need a couple other upgrades like Raka 2, Irelia 2, Riven 2, Olaf 2, all huge hits, Rakan 2. I just need a couple of those also to hit, and 99% of the time or 90% of the time, that will enable you to win streak the rest of stage 3. Because Because what happens in the lobby is half of the players are going to be playing, I mean, just 6 out of 8 of the players are going to be playing full standard. Either they're playing a weak early game because they low rolled and they're going to try to manage their econ with a balance of making their board stronger, right? And then there's going to be a couple players who are high rolling and one player that's win streaking, and they're going to play strongest board to level 7 and roll. That is usually what they're going to do, right? And then you just have me and maybe one other player full sending it like a psycho. And essentially the strengths of the playstyle is I am always trying to generate an advantage in mid game. I am recovering. I'm banking on recouping my econ for stage 3 and stage 4 by win streaking. Even if I don't recoup my econ, even if I don't win streak, I will recoup my econ inadvertently by winning almost every single round. And when I lose, I will take a good loss no matter what, because there's no way someone is going to have such a strong board on that point in the game that it beats my level 6 board that I made if I'm upgraded. There's no way anyone's going to beat me, and if they do, they're going to barely beat me. So I'll recoup my econ by just having high HP and able to sack a couple rounds on stage 4 if I don't end up win streaking. And the other players are not willing to do that. And that's why the playstyle works. It's because I'm going to play like a psycho. I'm going to up the pace of the lobby, and 99% of players are going to be uncomfortable with that. Until you get to the higher ends of play. Obviously they're comfortable, but most of the players in the lobby aren't going to know how to deal with that situation. And I thrive in the chaos. So I'm just living in the chaos. I'm the one who creates chaos every game. So I get a huge tactical advantage because no one else knows how to play in the lobby. I especially play this way if I'm contested. This is going to be something I'll talk about a lot in my Yasuo guide video, because that build gets contested. I hardly ever get contested for this build. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for the video. That is going to be it for the Psycho playstyle. Let me know if you made it to this point in the video. It's always cool for me to see who made it and how many people actually watched a full 25, 22, 30-minute video. It's very interesting to me, and I appreciate it when I see it, so it makes me feel good. Anyways, that's going to be it. I hope you guys can learn from this video, and good luck climbing and good luck playing. Hope you guys are all doing well, and yeah, I'm going to stop talking. See you guys. Bye.